Oh, my name is Clara Walcott de Allen. I was born in La Boca, Canal Zone in the year 1931. I live in Trinidad Street in La Boca on building 1071, apartment A. I went to school in La Boca. And when I was in seventh grade, I moved from La Boca to Rio Abajo, Calle Novena. In those days, Rio Abajo we used to call it the bush. Well, I went up in the bush. And in those days, we had Rio Abajo on one side of the street and Parque Lefebvre. So I was living in 9th Street, to the corner of 9th Street, and my building number was 2204. In those days, half of the road was Savannah and the other half was Rio Abajo, and then they brought it to via Rio Abajo, via Brazil, and so to Comano. I left from La Boca School and I went to República de Haití School, which was an old building. And I went there in primary school. I graduated and I went to Escuela Corte y Confección, which was a sewing school in Rio Abajo. And the teacher's name was Leonidas Herazo. She was from Rio Abajo, and she had that sewing school there. And I stood there until I got married, and I was a born Episcopalian. And along the line, we used to have the revival church, and I joined it. I changed religion. My father was from St. Philip, Malibé, Barbados, and my mother was from Christchurch, Barbados.
How was your interaction back then with the people that live there?
In Rio Abajo, we had several people from the West Indies. We had Jamaicans, we had Barbadians, we had French people from Guadeloupe. We had from all of the West Indies island. But in those days, our parents spoke English. Some spoke a little Spanish. But we grew up there. It was very nice. We had our own property. We raised our own chicken and ducks and everything. And we went to school there, and then I left from there and went to sewing school. We was very happy. We grew up very nice. All kind of people. We plant our own food. We plant everything. And we lived there comfortable until it's established up and it's established up. When I moved to Rio Abajo, Parque Lefebvre wasn't that populated. There was a comparsa. Parque Lefebvre had a comparsa over Lefebvre and Rio Abajo. That in those days they used to call half of the street Savannah. That was from the casino to the entrance of Pueblo Nuevo, and then they had a next street, a next name there, I don't remember, and then we had Golf Club Road. That Golf Club Road, which there was a golf club there.
Let me ask you now that you say golf club. With a mix of so many people from different islands, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, what was the predominant music that was played back then?
Oh, in those days, we used to have calypso, and we had, God used to play calypso, one from Bocas. We had calypso. In those days, we used to call it calypso. It wasn't calypso. It was calypso until the guy from Trinidad came there, and then it was a visit for Carnival. But in those days, we also used to have people. A Spanish man came from Cuba for the Carnival. We used to have Carnival, tolo, and everything. But most of the music in those days was we used to call it calypso, and then it went to calypso. And we had Spanish music, so we used to call it chuco chuco. That's what we call it. You know, it's play and like they used to beat, take the fork and play the buckles and the grater with the fork and the hand. So we the West Indian bunch from West Indian parents, we used to call it Spanish music chuco chuco. That's what we used to call it, chuco chuco.
In those days, was Mighty Sparrow, Lord Cobra, or they way before after?
Sparrow came from Trinidad to Panama, and the one what you just called
Lord Cobra, Lord Panama.
Lord Cobra was Panamanian, ain't it?
And you remember any other one with those days?
Yes, Lord Cobra was from Bocas, I think. Yes, he was from Bocas. Lord Cobra was from Bocas, and he make a song with Dan Nicola Dismatter. There's a boy from Villabajo, that born in Villabajo. His brother name his brother is Estella brother. That is sick now.
Estella who?
Estella's Knight's brother.
Stella Knight.
And he made calypso like Cobra used to make. He used to make them.
He used to make him. And
He had one with the man that sells bush, nickel man piaba, woman piaba, this, I can't remember them now, but we had good, in those days we used to call it calypso, but we had good calypso. Panama had good calypso.
Do you remember any song that you can sing for us? Anyone that you remember back then?
I know one with one name Uncle Joe, but I don't remember to sing it. I don't remember if Sparrow or somebody make Uncle Joe. Oh, the result, I know Sparrow make, the result of Sparrow is a bird, not Joe. That's what I know, cause he came to Panama and sing it when he came there for Carnival.
Oh, okay.
And then we had, this guy used to come from Cuba and he used to sing, que sigue la gente comentando, de mi proceder. He got in trouble and went jail, and then he come out and said, yo vivo como a mí me dé la gana y no me importa nada. Armando Bosa was his name. I think it was Armando Bosa.
And back now to the mix of the culture there with the different islands and stuff, the cuisine, the food back then is many different places. What did you learn to cook back then that you can cook now?
Oh, well, you know, in those days, the Jamaican used to cook what they cook in Jamaica, and the Barbadian used to cook what they cook in Barbados. So my mother used to cook cuckoo and steamed fish, and we had rice and peas and coconut was the Panamanian things. They used to cook the rice with salt meat. They used to cook a big 5 pound of salt meat, and then they take out the salt meat out the rice and put it in a plate, and then they put the rice and peas, and they give you the chicken and everything. But the Panamanians, no, they used to make a roast con pollo, bollo, tortilla, and the Panamanians used to eat iguana, but the West Indians and they eat it. Some of the children eat it, but the national dish of Panama was iguana.
Oh, okay. But today, they still have the tradition in Rio Bajo to cook those kind of food?
Yes, people still cook all those things, tortilla and all of that. And we had a lot of, you see where Galvez building is in Caledonia? There was a family named Bycroft that had a little building there to the corner. And then Galvez buy that building from them and take up the old block. Galvez building there in Panama. Like some Peace building, Bokmala building. We used to come down to the city. In those days, we used to be like Chivita. The little bus, the little Chiva.
Yes.
We used to ride the Chivita, and that time the bus fare was dime, nickel and dime.
Wow. But what is the cuckoo? You mentioned the cuckoo. What kind of place is that?
The cuckoo make with okra and cornmeal. You boil the slice of the okra and make turn the cornmeal in it. And the Jamaicans have it, but they call it turn meal. But they make this with coconut milk, while we only use the okra. And we had Trinidadians used to cook the pilau, and every person from the West Indies cook their own food, but we all eat it. We had people from Guadeloupe, Mama Citronella and the Pale Pale. There are a lot of people from Guadeloupe. They used to tie, the Guadeloupe people used to tie their head with madra, the cloth that the Jamaicans use in the revival work. No, that's what there was women from Guadeloupe and Martinique, and they used to speak a lot of patois.
That was my next.
The children didn't know patois. The bigger children know it, but the small children never know it.
That was my next question. Besides putting aside the music and the food, it was the patois. You know.
Yeah, but patois was what it parlait. We call it parlait. The talk patois. Madame Sachenel and the jutung putung tung. But they used to speak it that the children wouldn't know what they were saying. So the small children didn't learn it. The little children never learned the patois.
And the patois.
The parents used to talk it that they didn't want them to learn what they're saying. But Barbadian spoke Barbadian with the accent, and Jamaican spoke not like how these Jamaicans speak. No, in those days the Jamaicans didn't have they used to speak different.
But who speak mainly the patois?
The people from Martinique, Guadeloupe, all the little small islands that speak French. Okay. Guadeloupe, Martinique, and next one.
And they also speak the Creole?
The Creole.
Okay, you didn't learn anyone?
No, I couldn't learn Creole. My parents was Barbadian. Who parents was Barbadian didn't speak Creole. And the children didn't learn Creole. Some of the older children, the big sisters and so, knew it. But we, the younger ones, we don't know one word in it. They never teach us. Well, but the Barbadians spoke English, oi and e and me, and the Jamaicans spoke. But they didn't speak like all these speak now and come there. And they would never speak like these at here. They spoke a little, something different.
We lost a lot of that through the years, but moving forward now, as a you growing up, I understand that you was witness of the creation of
Listen, I come from Panama, vested with the revival work. What you call jump up. Being I come from Panama, I always used to travel. I joined it, and then I was armor bearer. But in those days, the churches used to visit. This church visit that, and this church visit that, and this church visit. So you go to baptism, you go to ordination, you go to everything. So I used to go. And then I was there, so that's why I get named witness in New York, because anything that happened like in the church in Panama or the nation, I know because I used to be in the work there. That's why they call me witness.
Okay.
I was there.
No, because I was going to ask you, since you was the witness, I understand that you know some about how the lash was created in Panama.
Yeah, I was my father was a Druid.
What was that?
Druid was the Druid used to work in 20th Street Central. That the Panamanian by Morgan. Morgan grandparents was Druid. His mother and me was in the same as Morgan.
What Morgan? Antonio Morgan?
Yes, he know me.
Okay.
He know Antonio. I know Antonio Morgan. I know his mother. I knew his father. I knew his grandmother. His mother was Eva Monti. And he have a niece or something. Is a cousin is in the Pentecostal church. I think in Panama. I think up here in New York too. I forget what their name.
And in church, how do you participate? If any position or any
I was a born Episcopalian. And I belonged to St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Naboka. It used to be the church of, it was Anglican, but after the Americans took it over, the Americans called their Episcopal church, their church Episcopal, and the British West Indian people call it Anglican, which is under the canon law. The canon law, they have the common hymnal and prayer with the British thing, and then it comes the Methodist and all. But along the line, I had a dream that my mother told me to take a vow to the Blessed Mother, and I took it. And then I baptized in the spiritual, I left the Anglican church to the revival work. But our work, we work in Panama. The old revival work is different to what the Jamaicans is working now.
How is that?
So, because the old revival work that we work from the ground up. We make our seal on the ground and everything, but they're not doing that now. Some of them don't do it. They don't know how to set a seal on the floor and this but I know all that. So I become witness because I got a position as an armor bearer in the church, and then that's how I learned the work. In Panama, now the work changed because the Jamaicans gone back down there, the younger ones, and take it over. It's a vast different thing with the revival work now, even in Panama, to what it was when I was a younger.
When I was growing up, I used to call the church Jumpy. What was that?
Yeah, jump up.
What is that?
And you come from Cologne where Balfour was. Balfour was in Cologne. You come from Balfour. You come from Sonny Jakes, and then you from Cologne. You're different to us from Panama.
So the jump is from Cologne.
No, same thing. The jump is the same thing from Panama and Cologne, but Cologne had it their own with their leader. That a man named Bishop James. He came in from Bocas, Roland James. He came in from Bocas and he made the Alibetian Church. This is where that guy with your grandmother. His grandmother name was Sita Anderson, and when he ordained her, he called her Mother Mary, and her name come change to Mother Mary till she died. She died named Mother Mary. That was Bishop James. He died over here in New York. He came from Panama.
Who was the grandson?
Huh?
Who was the grandson? Who was the grandson that you referred?
The grandson is the boy named the one there that went to Africa and studied and all of that.
You talk about Honeywell, Mr. Richard Honeywell.
Honeywell, yes. I know Honeywell, mother.
Oh, yeah?
Honeywell, mother and me were lads, so we were Galilean together. You don't remember, I think he should remember me because I know it. I was at her funeral.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. Honeywell, you remember Honeywell had an uncle named Topping, was a judge in Caledonia. And he had an uncle named Edmund Topping, was a spiritual church. Honeywell, mother is Mary Topping. I knew Honeywell mother. And you want to well, mother, on the day when she come back from the funeral and called me, and I said, but I didn't know she died. She was my friend, and you were vaguely know her because she was in a program in Miracle Makers with me, the grandparents program. But you were vaguely nurse, probably senior in the agency, but not knowing her to speak to.
And let me ask you, when you migrated to the United States, how things changed for you?
Well, when I came here when I was 32, and I had a sister, and she got a Jewish family to sponsor me. And I came, but I went to Corte Confection. I was a dressmaker, but I did domestic work. I never go in the factory and do. My sisters did, but I never did. And I went and worked domestic work, and then I worked in the Metropolitan Insurance, and then I got a job working in New York Hospital in 72. Cornell, I worked there. New York Presbyterian, and that's where I retired from.
You worked there as a nurse?
No. I went to building service, and I left building service and went to, in those days, it's messenger service now, but it was escort service. We used to transport patients, transport the patient, take the blood, carry this, carry that, and then a few years after that, I left and went to Central in the sterilizing, where they clean the instruments, and that's where I retired from. But it was a very good thing because, brother, nobody put their hand on me medically, and I know they can't tell me A for B. I learned it in escort service. Very good. Very good. I was in the hospital here, and I didn't want the doctor to take no blood from my hand, and I let him take it from my car. And so I said, but you can't take it. I shut him out. Being double mastectomy, I can't use the veins. I don't like them going the vein by my elbow, so I make him take it from the car.
Changing direction. What do you tell the new generation? How to preserve the culture, our culture as our Afro-descendant, and how to rescue what part of what it was lost. What do you tell them?
Well, you mean like with the church, revival church and so?
Everything, the culture.
Listen to me. It's a problem universal now because the Panamanians came here, migrated, and the Trinidadians call it Spiritual Baptist, which I went to Barbados. And visit. But before I went, I wrote my sister kindly and tell her I want to come to see her. But I tell her the Thai church. So when I time my head on food come, and when I went to Barbados, she and the minister for the church in Barbados grew up together, and they were good friends. And I went to his church, Spiritual Baptist. He came inside and showed me everything. But they work differently, and the Trinidadians. But with the work in America, it's very difficult because the Panamanians get mixed up into the Trinidadian work, and it's confusing because our old system is gone. It's very few one of them working the old work that is a Jamaican, my main captain, he brought that work to Panama. He brought it to Panama, and it was just him alone with the spiritual work. But since the Panamanians came here to New York, they work with the Trinidadians, those from Guyana and different things, and it's confusing because we the older ones, I don't worship with them, we the older ones, it's difficult because they more go to this what they learned than what we know, and it's a conflict there.
Well, Clara, on behalf of the program Desde Aquí para Allá, I would like to thank you for sharing some of your experience growing up in Rio Abajo.
Get ready, everybody, get ready. Get ready for the baptism. Get ready, everybody, get ready. Get ready for the baptism. Me and the melody band, Lord, we went to a baptism. They dug me first in the water. I done me roll and shout hallelujah. Lord, I done and shout the band. One and all come and join me in the song. And we shouted Jordan River, Jordan River, so